today we get an opportunity to be able to come here and sow some seeds and make some people free, help some people to increase their cognitivity, increase your ability to remain free after you become free. Because I mean, the thing is, once you our psychological prisons that we put ourselves in, they're habitual and they're easy to return to. That becomes the main issues that once we learn this stuff, remaining remaining in the state of being free, remaining in the state of walking aligned, walking, knowing what it is you're supposed to be doing, living according to it. So I'm just gonna let some people get in here real quick. We're both live on TikTok and YouTube with the simul stream. So really don't didn't put any notes together this morning, so it's gonna be raw. I always have stuff I could reach to though if I draw if I draw a blank, which could happen. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And so, you know, just we keep it moving. And but I believe last night when I was laying down and thinking about what I wanted to talk about today was the traps that I'm talking about getting free from, the how it becomes such a cycle or a cyclical process of through these stages overall. So let me just start with this. So I'm Truth J Blue, and this is the Blue Prophecy, where I share my philosophy on divine alignment, authentic living, and resonating with your true essence. The truth will make you free. These observations and expressions are designed with the intent of liberating you from illusions, guiding you into transformation, and awakening you into your divine authority. It is my belief that you are a powerful, creative, spiritual being capable of doing anything that you can imagine and believe. It is my life's work to empower you to experience your divine power, potential, and purpose. So now what I'm saying is today we're talking about becoming free and remaining free. But we people use these words, but what are we talking about? So the for me, I'm talking about two separate things we want to become free from. So the first thing is we want to free our minds from the influences of the world, right? So the world has influenced us, and our body has adapted. But even the second thing is we must free our minds from our bodies. See, our many of us, when I talk to people and I begin to try to help them to see, many people do not know how to separate their physical body from their actual soul, right? Many people feel like their body is them, that their name is their identity. And because of this, becoming free from it requires a lot of work. So freeing your mind from your body is oftentimes much more difficult than freeing your mind from the influences of the world, right? So the influences of the world, they come from various angles, like we talk about all the time. So the beliefs, the influences, your structures, the things that people said continually when you were growing up that eventually you just assumed were true and right because they said them all the time because you heard it all the time, and you've never taken the time to go back and to research or to even ask yourself the question if you believe what it is that you think you believe. See, many of us don't believe what it is that we think we believe. Many of us think we believe things that have never been examined. They've never been handled, never been tested, never been proved because you can't prove anything that you don't test. And we're supposed to be proving the principles that we claim to believe. We're supposed to be proving the systems that we claim work. So many people, especially these days, it's hard for someone who comes from my era or earlier to be able to really enjoy things these days because everyone is so copycat cookie cutter type, right? And people are wanting to be included in becoming included earlier off, and inclusion has been made simple through several different movements, and so there's all of these in groups, and then the out groups are so they're forced, even though they're dynamic, they're forced to come together to form a group because there's so many people in the in group. And so when we think about over the years how this is constantly created generational thoughts, generational beliefs, and the alteration through the programming and the algorithms. So freeing your mind from these types of things, that the things in the world that have influenced us, our loved ones, our religious beliefs, our political beliefs, the things that they told us in school, these indoctrinations, they each one of them can form its own prison. And so you be within prisons inside of prisons. And I know firsthand about this stuff. It's difficult to alter your beliefs to come to a realization that something that we believe is not true, and then take that thing that we believed our entire lives, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, we believe this thing, and then we come across some information or an experience where it's tested, and we find out that it's not trustworthy, that it's not solid, that it's not true all the time. Let's say it's not always false, but it's not true all the time. So it's not trustworthy. And there's very few things that are trustworthy in the modern day. The principles in the Bible are trustworthy. You can test them. They've been proven over time. That's why it's still around. If you put the principles in the Bible to test, they all work out. All of them. I've spent years testing them, and I don't know a lot of stuff when it comes to why they work. I won't try to argue people about what they should believe, but what I do know is that myself, many people I know have put those principles to work and experienced the results of testing the principles, right? So when we think about freeing our minds from even religious beliefs, political beliefs, the beliefs that we learned in our household, the various influences across the board, right? We The freedom requires the implementation of new principles, new applications, new ways of thinking. So if we're not exposing ourselves to new information, if we're always in our echo chambers or always around people who think the exact same way we think, and we're not exposing ourselves to external sources, reading stuff to see what people outside of our in group, we end up becoming more ensnared, more um imprisoned, but through this cycle. So the thing is, we must be willing to consider that what we believe might be wrong. I tell people sometimes. I used to say it a lot, but I don't say it as much. Of course, I'm not around as many people as I used to be. But I used to say it a lot. The thing that makes me more powerful in a conversation and more um adaptable in the conversation is the fact that I'm willing to consider the fact that I might be wrong. Something that I believe, something that I've known for 10 years, 20 years, because I read it in a book, because somebody taught it to me, because my mama said it, whatever makes me think it, whatever makes me think that I know it. When I'm having a conversation with somebody, I'm listening to them to understand the point that they're laying out, to see or to consider the fact that I might be wrong, right? You got to be willing to consider the fact that you might be wrong. Because if you're not, and if you assume that you're already right and you already know everything, then you're going to fail to do one of the most important parts of communication, and that's listening. People, and it appears these days that fewer and fewer people know how to listen. I've had some really good conversations with people over the last couple years, but there's been a lot more times where you're talking to somebody and you could tell they're not listening, or you're listening to somebody and you could tell they have no idea what they're talking about. And both are really annoying, right? But becoming free requires that we don't hold too fast to these things that come from influences, come from indoctrination, come from outside sources. We must look inside ourselves, analyze the information, test out the strategies, test out the principles, and come to a true knowing, a true understanding of what it is that works for us, that works in our lives, and the reason why it works, in order to be free. Because remember, what we're talking about here is the freeing our minds from the influences of the world, and freeing our minds from our bodies. Now, as I was laying down thinking about this topic last night, the freeing our minds from our bodies was the thought, right? And so I'd really, coming here this morning, when I was like thinking about it, I was like, the body really was is trained by the world, the flesh, those things that bring us pleasure, that we desire. And even that, I read a book some years ago, Propaganda, and I think anybody should read it. I forgot who the author is, but he the it's an old book. But when you understand that everything about the things that you enjoy have been influenced to you, and you understand the power of influence, you will see the things that I'm talking about at a whole nother level. See, it's hard for people that believe that they're making their own choices, that believe that, oh no, I like this stuff because I like this stuff. No, I tried it and I liked it. That's what you believe. However, because of influences and the way that the human is trained, the culture that you grew up in, the town, the city, all of these things have influenced the things that you believe taste good, the places that you like to go, the clothes that you like to wear. So that system of beliefs have really put thoughts in you, put put ways of feeling in you that you may have never analyzed, never thought. Like, why are we so, like, the things that we feel are sometimes emotions, and emotions are signals from our inner self, from our body, giving us a signal of how we feel in that moment. But those emotions, people feel different emotions for similar activities or the same thing. You can have a group of 5 people all go through a same event and experience different emotions, similar emotions, but different emotions. And these emotions, these signals are part of that training. That's why there's people that can see certain things as they shouldn't do it, and it's wrong, and other people that can be with them and be like, that doesn't make any sense. Why do you think that's wrong? And the person that think that is wrong, they don't have a way to explain it because it was something that was told to them that they accepted blindly and never really truly understood if it was wrong or right. They just allowed the influence, the whatever it was that was told to them, to be true for them, but they've never examined it to find out if it was truly true. And this is where many of our prison beliefs come from. This is where many of the journey. This is where the journey of renewing our minds and having a true transformation experience, this is where it begins. Because when one truly wants to transform, it begins with renewing the mind and being, and that's the real transformation. The metanoia, the metanoia, this state of being transformed through a revelation or a realization. this these There's so many things though there when we begin to try to think about it right now, and I'm looking in my thoughts and looking in my thinking. I'm like, there's so many different influences, beliefs, uh, indoctrinations and classifications and definitions that have shaped and formed each different individual's perspective and way of acting and way of believing, that to be able to communicate it, I have to try to remain broad because I don't want people saying, oh, that's not me though. Like, no, this is every single one of us. Every single one of us are captive to the things that we believe. It's just true. The things that you believe control you. And that's just true. You're not gonna act outside of your beliefs too often, too frequently. You may occasionally be able to do it, but in order to consistently conduct yourself in a new way, you must change what you believe. You must change the way you think, because you will never change the way you act. You will never change the way that you do things, the way that you carry yourself, if you don't change the things that you believe. That's why people say, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I don't believe what you're saying because I can see what you're doing. Because what you do is based on what you really believe, not what you say, not what you want to believe, not what you tell people you believe, but what you actually believe is revealed to us through your actions. What I believe is revealed to you through my actions. And like I said, I believe wholeheartedly that you are a powerful, creative, spiritual being, capable of doing anything that you can imagine and believe. That's why I've decided to come here and do the blue prophecy, where I say things to try to get you to think differently so that you can look at the way that you believe, look at what you believe, begin to question what you believe, become more aware. That awareness leads you to awakening, that awakening leads you to alignment, and the process continues. See, if we must first become aware though. If we're continuing to believe that there's such thing as this just who I am, or that's just what I do, this is what I'm supposed to do, any of these limiting beliefs that put you inside of a box, that make you, that these the what one of the things that are in the news now is the stuff about culture, and you don't have to conduct your a certain way because of anything. You don't have to conduct yourself a certain way because of your skin color. You don't have to conduct yourself a certain way because of your religious beliefs. Well, maybe you do. You do need to conduct yourself. There are certain things you should do if you practice certain religions. So I want to take that one back. But just because your race is black or white, or really it's just human. You have melanin, and how melanated you are, and depending on your roots and things like that. But really, everybody's human. They've proven this, and they proved this a long time ago, that pretty much you could trace everybody's mother's back, or mitochondrial DNA back to one single ancestry mother. So we're really all related. So all of the prejudices are all ridiculous. And racism is not real. Even though people are racist, people do judge people according to the color of their skin, which is racism. Racism means putting everybody in a race into this box. Like, all blue people tell the truth, and you put all of the people in the box in that race, and you say that they all do this and they're like that, which on its face doesn't make any sense. There's all the people in the same house don't do the same thing. All three triplets who were raised in the same household and read all the same books, they don't all do the same. So it's just not. It's just ridiculous that in and of itself, and the fact that every 2 years that people have to deal with this fake outrage. This I try not. It's really annoying to be like. It's just like, wow. I'd be like, wow, and then people they're so wrapped up in their life that they can't even realize that the the same people that are telling you that is going on are the same people doing it to you, because they're not free. You haven't never stepped outside to consider, to question, to pay attention, to become aware so that you can be free. The only way to be free is to know what it is that you think, and know why it is that you do what you do, and to be able to get those things into an understanding where you, if somebody was to ask you, hey, why do you do that? You understand what it is that you believe that causes you to do that. But unfortunately, 70 to 80% of the people, the ones that I run into on a day-to-day basis, cannot tell you what it is that they believe or who they are, and what it is that makes them do the things they do. Why do you choose this? What is it that you believe that you should be doing this for? That these things is because we just live inside of our prisons, shaped by beliefs that were given to us, our concepts were given to us, our percepts were given to us, and we frame everything through these provided categories, these provided descriptions. And people that go out and do more things and experience more things, they tend to change and not be like the people that they grew up with, right? Even It's just so many beliefs and influences that you are holding that are preventing you from becoming truly authentic, where not only are you bold and capable and willing to say what it is that's on your mind, but what's on your mind being what really truly resonates with your soul and your reason for coming here for this human experience. So that's the freedom that I want for you. I want you to be able to experience what life is like when you're doing what it is that you were created to do, doing what it is that some people say you were contracted to do. It doesn't matter what your belief system is to be able to live out the truth, whether you believe it's purpose or whether you believe it's dharma. It doesn't whether you believe it's duty or whether you believe it's a special talent that's within you. No matter what it is that you believe, you have it within you. Every single human, no matter whether you believe it was contracted or if it was given to you by God, no matter what you believe, is true anyway. See, people try to conceptualize things, but all of these concepts, like I said, were given to us, and they limit us. They don't. They Many of the beliefs they don't help you to expand. Anything you hold on to too tightly will keep you stuck to that thing. Like I was talking about earlier, I'm always willing to consider that I might be wrong. But in the inside of that consideration, it relies on you being able to delineate and lay out a structure of logic on why you're right. And that's why I listen to understand. I'm actually a really good listener. People may not realize it, but I just stopped listening at the point where it's no longer coherent. I attempt to stop doing that. I've gotten better. Really used to cut people off the moment that it didn't make sense, but I've realized that if you just continue to listen, that they'll circle back. And especially now that I make all of um these live shows without any notes or anything often. So I realize that if I misspeak, if I give myself some time, I'll get it back together. Right. So those are the things that we free ourselves from inside of the freeing our mind from the world. So let's now look at the even more complex thing that we need to be free from, freeing our mind from, and that's from our body. So I guess it was when I was meditating last night when I came up with this, and I said, okay, this is what I'm gonna talk about tomorrow. And I made a note and said we're going to talk about freeing the mind from the body. Now, I never had considered it, right? So that's the reason why we sat up here and talked about freeing our mind from the world first. But freeing our mind from our body, it then takes us into the situation where mindfulness and consciousness and those of us who on the divine path, walking in our divinity, walking towards our divinity, walking truly aware that there is a God, and we're not God, but we are of God and one with God. And when you begin to walk towards that, you have that revelation, have that realization, and you begin to move that way. Because many of us, we practice breathing exercises, meditation, um, and various different conquer the body types things, right? So when freeing the body from the or freeing the mind from the body means that when we sit down and we begin to meditate, that the other things, anything that may want to make us make our heart beat or make us feel like we need to get up and go do it, being able to free ourselves from those things, from the impulses, because being free from impulses is something more people need than actually being free from the influences of the propaganda and their indoctrinations, their impulses, because these are the things that people beat themselves up about. And as soon as I said that, I heard in my head it says confess your faults one to another so that you may be free. Like this is the reason why so many people are controlled by their impulses. This is good. The reason why people are so controlled by their impulses is because they hold them in and they're ashamed of them. And because you're ashamed of some of your inclinations, some of your impulses, some of the things that you find yourself doing that you don't know why you do, or some of the things that you told yourself you weren't going to do that day, but you still end up doing it. These things, and sometimes some of our impulses are thoughts, some of our impulses are actions, some of our impulses are things that we say, places that we go. Impulses are they're broad. Many people do things and realize, and on the end of it, this when I'm talking about those actions, at the end of it, you be like, dang, why did I do that? I told myself I wasn't going to do that. I told myself I wasn't going to say that. I told myself I wasn't going to that place. These types of impulses, freeing our mind from our body is freeing ourselves from impulse. And this requires much more awareness than many of us um, have. Even in the knowledge of it, right? We know that, at least I believe that anytime one of those impulsive actions where you end up going somewhere you knew you didn't want to go, saying something you said you weren't going to say, doing something you said you weren't going to do, just finding yourself in that situation in which you, through your cycles and through your habitual self, have found yourself multiple times, but there's something inside of you, your higher self knows that it's not conducive to your health, or it's not productive to where it is that you see yourself going, or it's not appropriate for you because of whatever the reason. And all of these understandings, all of these awarenesses, to break free from these impulses, we tell ourselves, all right, I'm not going to do that again. And then we find ourselves doing it again within the next week or next month or whatever. The freeing our this is because we haven't become aware enough to be conscious enough to be completely free from our body. Our body still dictates what it is that we do. Our body still has more control over us than we know. See, people don't realize that the body makes decisions too. Your brain doesn't only make decisions. I don't have time to try to get into something really deep, like where decision making, let's just say decision making is made in the brain for simplicity. It's a conscious action. So wherever conscious, but we do understand that. So these decisions that we're making, to be able to, as we become aware, they require new cycles, new habitual systems put in. That's why especially if you go back and watch like my videos 2 years ago, I went back and was watching some of my old videos. I used to stress all the time how important it was to practice mindfulness, to journal, to to be writing these things down before you go to bed, writing these things down when you wake up in the morning. And I guess that's because that's the where I was in that cycle of teaching. Of course, I still write stuff down. I wrote down the stuff before I left the office, what I needed to work on when I came here last night, what it was that I want to talk about. I'm always journaling, always writing stuff and researching stuff to try to keep things on my mind to talk about, right? And those habitual impulses, I could tell myself, um today or let's say yesterday I would have told myself I didn't, but if let's say yesterday I told myself tomorrow I'm not going to drink any coffee, and then I don't write it down, and I had told myself yesterday during the afternoon, and then this morning when I come back from doing the stuff I do, and I get back and I'm in my flow, and I go in there and I'm about to make coffee, the that cycle, I do it naturally. And I could be done. I already made the coffee, and then while I'm making the coffee, or the coffee's brewing or whatever, I realized, dang, I told myself that I wasn't gonna drink no coffee. So what do? Pour the whole pot of coffee out, or like you see, like, and then I tell myself, man, I ain't supposed to waste this coffee. You know what I'm saying, I'm just gonna have one cup. But is these I have the opportunity because okay, I told myself yesterday I wasn't gonna drink the coffee. Here I am brewing the coffee, and I realized that I told myself that yesterday. But now I have to remake the decision in real time to follow through on the thing that I told myself yesterday. And I'm probably just gonna drink the coffee. If we're just being honest, like we probably just do the thing that we naturally do or habitually do. Many of us don't go through with until after. And then, I realize, like, then let's say later, like my stomach's upset or something. I'm like, dang, man, I shouldn't have drank that coffee. But I had told myself, I gave myself an opportunity. And then I reminded myself before I drank the coffee, my higher self kicked in, my intuition kicked in. It was like, hey, you said, and then we still do it anyway. We have many ways out. Where from the things when we're trying to break those habitual actions, those habitual circumstances we find ourselves in, those places we go that we say we're not going to go, those people we call that we say we're not going to call, those things we say that we say we're not going to say, those things that we eat that we say we're not going to eat, the thing, all of it, the things that we do, the things that we say, the things that we see, the things that who we are being that goes against the person that we are becoming or attempting to be. This this freeing our mind from our body is a real challenge that when we begin to implement it is so worth the the result. The life of being able to be in control and your body not controlling you. Like, there's infinite things because in this life, we we're programmed. We program ourselves, and we're programmed through all of our experiences, things that we wired in everything. I don't have to keep um saying that, but the breaking free from the responses of the body, like people that smoke cigarettes who want to quit smoking cigarettes, or people that drink that want to quit drinking. It's one day at a time, but it requires us to remain aware and conscious of it. So therefore, we should be journaling. We should be regularly talking about it, reminding ourselves that it's not what we're doing. getting an accountability partner to help us remember that we're going to the gym 3 times a week. Whatever it is, the the mind is the prison beliefs is only one part of freeing yourself. There's also the habitual beliefs from our body. We must free our mind from our body and from the flesh. So the world and who you are and who you're becoming, the challenges, they rest and they lie within recognizing where what type of prison belief it is. Is this belief something from the world, or is this belief something that is deeper? Because these things that I'm talking about here at the end of the video, these are more serious. I guess I went out. I guess I lost service. Know what happened? Who knows what happens, man? I tell you what, with that happening, we're just gonna get up out of here. Gonna tell y'all that remember that you are a powerful creative spiritual being capable of doing anything you can imagine and believe. So if you focus, you can free yourself from those limiting beliefs, from those prison beliefs. You can free yourself from all of the concepts and percepts that they gave you. If somebody taught you that you were a victim, you can realize that you're not a victim, begin to see that the power is within your control to do whatever it is that you choose to do. That there is nothing, no matter who you are, no matter the color of your skin. If you live in the United States, especially, if you live in the United States, you have no excuse. We have everything available to us at any given time. If you decide that you're going to make the consistent decisions to move towards any destination, it can be done. I don't care. It don't have nothing to do where you were born at, where you grew up at, who your mama was, who your daddy was, if they were there, if they weren't there. None of that has everything to do with the decisions, the choices that you're willing to make from day to day, from any given time of the day. And that's really what it comes down to, and so being free requires work, requires accountability, awareness, acceptance, belief, but most of all, it requires action. So take action to free yourself from the world, free yourself from influences, and become free from your impulses, to where you are no longer a captive, but you are now the captain of your soul. I'm gonna see you on the next one. Peace.